Coming up on this week's Towncast Pembroke, we've got Haggars, we've got Otters, we've got roasted chestnuts, and a whole load more. Let's start the show. Welcome back to this week's Towncast Pembroke with me, Lee G, as always. Pleasure to have you back. So, loads of stuff happening last week, loads of great messages from last week's show. So, thank you for that. Same as always, if you want to join us, please do. So, we will crack on straight away this week with news and events. First bit of news this week is we have a new business in town. Welcome to the town. So this is located Castle Terrace, so in between the castle and you turn down to Mill Pond, down Darklands. So that's Castle Terrace. Most of us call it Main Street, but it is officially Castle Terrace. And it used to be I used to call it the Yellow Shop, with lots of treats. I think it's in that shop, but it's in that kind of area. So it's called Water and Cook, and it's a kitchen design studio. So they've got a couple of bits on their Facebook page. So we've shared a little couple of bits on their Facebook page, and at some point I shall be popping in to have a look because there's some stuff in there that just looks lovely on that. And yeah, why do we need to go anywhere else for kitchen design when you've got this kind of stuff on your doorstep? So yeah, it looks fantastic. Looks pretty fabulous to me. So yeah, welcome to Pembroke Water and Cook. Incidentally, other new businesses. So we mentioned a couple of weeks ago about Cromwell's being reopened as a gastro bar. That's still there. That's going really well. And I had the pleasure of bumping into Yaz from the heat sauna over the weekend, which is completely the other end of town. So I had a quick catch up with her. So that was our first new business that we spoke about in Pembroke. Yeah, so just had a catch up with Yaz. Hopefully, be able to do a bit more of an in-depth chat with Yaz at some point in future. But yeah, really interesting to see what she's doing in the Heat Lounge. Loads of runners around Pembroke and going. There's loads and loads of people running around Pembroke. This is ideal for them. They must be going to the Heat. Um, and talking to Yaz, and it's lots of people from outside of town. So if you're a runner, if you're one of the exercise classes that happens in town, then yeah, go have a chat with Yaz because it'll be absolutely perfect for you. But hopefully, we'll be doing a bit more of that in future again. So the rest of the events this week. So we've still got our Heart Tim special. That's still live there on the previous pods. So I'll try and share the presentation that we did on social. Just it's got lots of stuff on there. So this is more kind of business orientated this week, just to kind of spread it around a little bit. So there's a change at Pembroke. Yeah, I think this is all councils. Yeah, all Welsh councils have changed the way that they do it's called small maintenance and things like that. So suppliers of hire plant machinery, it's to do with that. If you're part of that already, you still need to go and attend these sessions to find out what it is and how it's going to affect you. So this is on the 22nd. So the 22nd is Wednesday. That's up at the Innovation Centre, 2:30 to 4:30 on Wednesday. If this is something that is going to affect you, it's worth going. It genuinely is worth going because by the sounds of it, it's a fairly hefty change. If you've got any queries or anything like that, you can message Roseanne on procurement@pembrokeshire.gov.uk just to get a bit more information about it. On that, now there's also this is still relevant to it as well. So the minor work framework for building maintenance goes live this week. 2-hour workshop. Blah 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 blah. This is on the PCC Facebook page. So it's worth having again, if this is your business, if you're in the building business, if you're in supplying business, by the looks of it, this is going to be fairly hefty change. Because and if you're in that kind of market, but you're not already doing business with PCC, then this is where you need to be. Okay, so that's again, let's say that's on the PCC Facebook page. This is on the Innovation Centre Facebook page. Now, I mentioned this last week. I said I'm going to keep mentioning it because it is really, really important. By pure chance, I spoke to somebody from Haverfordwest, runs business in Haverfordwest, and we were just talking through cyber stuff. And they had, they didn't have an attack, but they had a scare. They had a genuine scare about something that could have been, somebody could have taken over basically their um, their online sales is what could have happened. So they think that they're going into their bank account, and actually it was going to be diverted to somewhere else. It got picked up by the bank that somebody had changed the destination bank account, completely oblivious to what and how, but passwords changed, all of it, and absolute chaos and panic for a week. The guy was going to lose his business. He was going to lose access to his business, to his account. Essentially, that's what was going to happen. Um, but thankfully, the bank stopped it, and he stopped it, and security things were in place. But gave him a real shock. Um, so this is why cybersecurity is really, really important. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what business you run, or what business you might be running, this is really, really important for you. So if you haven't booked yourself on already, you've got a QR code there. It's on the 18th of November, the Innovation Centre. It's a workshop, so there's genuine stuff there that they'll do. Even if you think that you are absolutely 100% secure, this is just worth going um, to make sure you are doing the right thing on that. Okay. So don't forget, all of our half-term things are still up on our last week's page. So please do give them a look. There is loads and loads of stuff going on over half-term. Pembroke Dock, Tenby, Heatherton, Dinosaur Park, Manor House. Manor House looks particularly good. There's stuff going on in the Pembroke Dock, in the St Govan Centre, stuff going on in Penna Hall, all of the loads of no excuses to not be out and about over half-term holidays with the kids doing stuff, unless you can't stand the kids. Or unless you've not got kids and you're a bit older and you're going, oh, Christ, I'm not going to go anywhere this week. I'll wait till the week after. Those may be the excuses. Okay, let's move on then swiftly before I dig myself a hole to I remember. But before I do, please do give us a like and a subscribe on our YouTube channel. Give us a like on our social medias and help us spread the word. We'll come on to talk about the Otter video later, but if you've seen that, and given that a like, thank you very much. It just helps us to spread the word locally. Um, we're doing really well, but there's still loads of people that don't know about us. So tell your friends, and if you want to come and join us, please do. But yeah, please like and share. That would be great. Okay, I remember when we had a cinema in Pembroke. Now this kind of follows on from last week. Okay, so last week we spoke about the fair, memories of the fair and those kind of things. And one of the things that was in the fair was what was then called a traveling bioscope. Okay, now a traveling bioscope is essentially uh, it's a room that you go into to watch a film. It was a traveling cinema, and I think the films back then were like only about 15, 20 minutes long. It was run by a guy called Mr. Haggard. Well, I'll show you some stuff in a minute about him. Um, but yeah, it's where out is now essentially. So Mr. Hagger would travel around the country. Originally started as a like a traveling theatre. Then he found this bioscope thing, and the bioscope came to the Pembroke Fair. He actually lived in Aberdeen, but lots of his family kind of stayed around here. So there was one in Pembroke, there was one in Pembroke Dock. And he set up the cinema in Pembroke Dock, one of the oldest in well, I think it's the oldest in Wales. Certainly the films that he made. So he made his own films and then showed his own films. Um, so the films that he made are the oldest in Wales, possibly the oldest in the UK. And some of them were shot on location around Pembroke Dock, which is really cool when you think of it. You know, the oldest film in Wales was made in Pembroke Dock. Um, so yeah, so for me, I'm just going to share some stuff from the history. When I went looking into this, obviously I've got my memories. I share them in a lot, but I thought, this is. I knew that it was really important. It's got the blue plaque, all of these kind of things. So I thought there'd be a ton of information. It's really, really hard to find information about Haggars cinema. But I'll share with you now some stuff that I have found. So I found this on BBC Wales history blogs. So I know we've got. I really like the fact that we've got our own historical society. Pembroke and Moncton, Pembroke Dock. We've all got our historical society, and I love the information they put on there. But somebody needs to get hold of their website and put a search button on there because, oh my lord, it's you literally have to read through it all. But so this is what I've found on the Tinternet and what have you. So this yeah the Child's Peace film about a notorious Victorian burglar and murderer was shot in Pembroke Dock is the oldest extant film story in his British story film. So yeah, that's fantastic that was it. So basically um, this is a nice little kind of read about some of the stuff. Families still existing and what have you. Then there's a page called so this is Be Bath. Um, it's a little bit more about Pembroke Dock and the making of it. But yeah, so eight children, some of them, one of them stayed in Pembroke and Pembroke Dock. Um, but it started in, I think, 1910 was when the Pembroke cinema was opened. So you can see 1898, he acquired the bioscope projector, which that's what I was talking about in the fair. So yeah, Message from the Sea and Life of Charles Peace, 1905, were filmed in Pembroke Dock, and that's the one that still exists now. But said loads about the family. It'd be interesting to know if there's still family in the area. So if you know anyone that is a part of the Haggars dynasty, that would be great to have that. And it would be great actually to have this film in a format that we could see. I've no doubt it's a really, really old film, really, really delicate. But if somebody can digitize it, and maybe we can remake it. Maybe that can be a thing. Maybe we can remake it. Um, so the station master loaned the train, local people loaned their houses. Hawkston Road, Birdcage Walk, and the railway station is where it was all filmed. So if you know Pembroke Dock, you'll know that that's all kind of the same area. Um, yeah, just really nice to have this. But again, as I'm gonna stop sharing now, so bear with. Um, the amount of information is actually quite small, so it'd be great to have a little bit more on that. So if you do have little bits of history from 1900s or whatever, we can get hold of those. Then please do. Um, so for me, that is closed in 1982, according to all of those, which is really really cool because it's not really cool, but it's a long, long time ago. So many people won't actually know about haggis and how it used to be set up. So the bit where you now walk into out that bit on that top layer that was a shop. That was a newsagent's and a um yeah, that was a shop, and then the door where you now come of out that was like the way into the cinema. um and you can almost kind of imagine how what you now see as the nightclub being a cinema. I'm fairly sure, yeah, you walked in at the back and then walked down the stairs. So I think the screen was over to the left, but this is a long, long, long time ago. So, so I would query that date of 1982 as when it closed. I think it was a little bit later because I remember going to see a couple of films in this. So I remember going to see the first film I remember going to see in there was Firefox, which was on my birthday, which is in December, and my dad took um, a couple of us to to the cinema, and then we went back to my house after, and my mum had made tea and what have you. Um, but yeah, Clint Eastwood, Firefox, um, and a couple of us. I think it was seven or eight of us in there. That was the film that I remember. That was the first film that I remember seeing in there, and it was something like we. Clint Eastwood was an American pilot, and I think he had to steal a plane from Russia and then fly it home so that, or Russia had stolen it and he had to steal it back, or something like that. Um, yeah, so I remember seeing that. And the other film I remember seeing in there, which was also in 1982, was E.T. And the reason I remember seeing E.T. in there, 'cause I remember we used to have, you all had T-shirts, E.T. lives and the little finger and all of this. So E.T. lives. Um, and the reason I remember watching it in there is because I cried when we all thought E.T. died. Now, don't tell me that you didn't either, because I know you did. Because if you watched that in the cinema, I must have been, I'd have been 7 or 8. It would have been around that kind of age. Uh, and you're watching E.T. and you can hear other people starting to cry, other kids. And and if you're a kid and you're seeing ET, you are completely invested in that film, and ET would absolutely be your best friend, and you would absolutely take him to school and all of those kind of things. So on that scene where they find ET and he's white and Elliot is all upset. The whole cinema was in floods of tears. Um, and I just remember, like, my mum was sitting next to me. My mum was sat next to me, and then there was me and my sister, and then there was my dad the other side. And I remember, like, my sister was cuddled into my dad, and he was wiping her tears, and my mum gave me tissues, and she was crying, and I was so yeah. But the whole cinema was just in tears over it. So if you were there at the same time, um, yeah, message me about that, because that was definitely one of my memories of Haggars cinema. So yeah, I want to know your memories of Haggis. I want to know. I'd be interested to know things like what was the last film that they showed. I'd like to know a definite closing date. When was the last film? I know the newsagent carried on for a while after. So they used to have like spades and buckets and spades and all of those kind of things. It was very much aimed as stop here on your way to the beach. So ice creams. I remember getting ice creams from there, but that was the upstairs bit. Um, so that lasted a little bit after the cinema. It was a snooker hall for a while. I remember it being a snooker hall in snooker in the 80s was massive. It was a really, really good snooker hall in the dock that I used to go to. I never went to the one in Pembroke. So if you used to go to the snooker hall in there, do message me, let me know. Share your memories of the snooker hall. We're going to park it at the end of the snooker hall. We're going to park it there because then it becomes a nightclub. And I'm going to talk about nightclubs next week. I'll talk about Tanyard and we'll talk about out next week. But yeah, share with me your memory. What was a film that you saw in Haggars that you remember, and why do you remember it? I'm willing to, in the 50s and 60s, Haggars they were literally queues up the street to get into Haggars. We didn't have online booking. You didn't used to book your seat. You would literally queue, take your ticket, get in, find a seat, and when it was full, they stop and everyone would have to come back the next day. So yeah, and I think so. I've seen some old photos, but I think that the original entrance was where the shop became. So I think you went in through there and then into the cinema. Um, but somebody will know. Somebody will tell me what that place used to look like and how it evolved and how it developed. But yeah, what was your favorite film from Haggars? What was the last? Did you used to work there? Did you used to work in Haggars? Um, Either on the films or selling ice creams or whatever. Yeah, share your stories about Haggars because yeah, I'd love to know more. I'd love to know. I'm really surprised there isn't more information available about it. It should have its own like history page of the film of Haggars. This is what Haggars did. But yeah, share that with me. That would be great. Be fantastic to get a bit more information on that. Yes. So and always I'll pop the posts out through the week on social media. So yeah, just comment under those as we go. So before we move on to the chatty bit, I just remind you that on our social media, I've got a post there which is about sunsets, sunrise and sunset, and there have been a couple this week. And as we get into the more wintry things, if you've got any fantastic photos of your sunrises and your sunsets, do post them on there because it's I just think it's one of the most beautiful times of the day in this part of the country where when you get that red sky and you get that little bit. Anyway, that's on our socials. Just a reminder that that is there for you. Okay, let's move on and do a little bit of the chatty bit this week. So for this mill pond. So yeah, as you know, I walk my dogs around the mill pond pretty much every day. Um, so I get to see a lot of the wildlife. There is an abundance of wildlife on Mill Pond, and over the last few years, I've been lucky enough to see the otters quite a lot, quite a lot, and and it's weird because they are not overly scared of humans. They don't come up to you. They don't come up to you, but they're not scared. So if you approach them, they will go away. But they're not. They will sit there and stare at you. At one point, a couple of years ago, a Sunday afternoon, I remember it really, really well. So when I walk around, I'll either walk the mill ponds and then back along the commons, or walk the commons and then along the mill ponds. So this time I was walking along the mill pond first. So came down by the side of the coach house, and I could see as you get to the bottom, before it turns down to the left, and I could see an otter just coming under the bridge. Yeah, the footbridge that goes up to the back of Getliach. So I was looking at it, and oh, is that an otter? Is that an otter? And as I walked down, this otter was kind of in the middle of the pond alongside me, and there was nobody else along the pond. There was nobody else. It was really nice. It was a lovely sunny day. It was autumn, and this otter was just kind of essentially walking with me in the middle, and I had no one to tell. I had no one to tell. I couldn't stop anyone and go, there's an otter there right in the middle. So yeah, this must have been about half an hour, just kind of slowly walking down, and he kept coming in and going out, coming in and going out. But he'd come in and then kind of like pop up and just kind of look. It should be like this, and he's 3, 4, 5 meters away. He's not far. He's not far. And I say he because I think in one of the things with otters is it's very difficult to tell the difference between male and female. Size is the one thing, but if they're on their own, you don't. Well, is that a big otter or is that a small otter? You don't know. So thinking back now, he was a very very long otter, maybe 1.5, 2 meters long by the time he put his tail up. And the other ones, so the one that I saw last week was probably a bit smaller than that. So I'd say that was the male, that was a female that I saw this week. So yeah, and when they've got the reeds, they love to swim around in amongst the reeds. One of the things that is key for otters is clean water, and this has been my concern with the mill pond for quite some time. As I've said, the quality of the water in the mill pond, the swans still concern me. The lack of cygnets this year on mill pond concerns me, but the otters need clean water. Now they've got clean water. They also need a lot of food, and we know that there are tons of fish in Mill Pond, more in Castle Pond, to be honest. So this is the other bit is like where are those otters actually living? Um, because I see them on Castle Pond, I see them on Mill Pond. I've now that I know what that sound was, it sounded like an alarm going off last week, but it wasn't. It was the baby. So if you watch this week's video, which is on our socials, you might be able to hear the kit squealing for its mum. He's shouting for its mum. So yeah, if you haven't seen that video, go and have a look at it because it's lovely because it's a mum and the kit. Um, so if you're walking from the zebra crossing up Mill Pond, that first dip that I always used to think of it as where they used to let boats go off, as the way onto the Mill Pond. He was literally sat there. That he was just sat there squeaking for his mum, and the mum was out fishing. So I say that's we know there's plenty of food there. So there was a group of us who were taking photos and videos, and we were 2 meters away, less than 2 meters away, and he wasn't scared of us. The little one wasn't scared of us. He was looking for his mum, and when he saw his mum, and his mum shouted to him, and he went. And you'll see on the video with him swimming towards her, and she keeps going down and to encourage him to come and what have you. So it's really, really nice just to see that so close to the town. So if you follow the Waterman's pub on social media as well, they post loads of videos. They call him Ollie. I prefer the Welsh names. I've given all of those swans Welsh names, and because it's a female, because with the kit it's female, so I call it Olwyn. And at one point there was a Whitefoot, and Olwyn means Whitefoot, so I went, okay, that's perfect, yeah. So Olwyn the otter. So we need a name for the baby. Obviously, again, we won't be able to tell what sex the baby is until it gets older. But I quite like Oggy because we can use Oggy for all sorts of things. So yeah, it was. It's just so nice to see them there. Um, and then it gets me thinking, where is their halt? I think so. Otters holts they like privacy. They like it in dense undergrowth. They like it quiet, secluded, but then close to fresh water. So it has to be close to fresh water. So they could quite comfortably be the other side of the barrage, um, on the seawater side. They could be anywhere along there. Um, that's definitely viable because they would still then just come up for fresh water, but they would need easy access to it. I think with the barrage there, that maybe prevents that easy access. I know that they do swim both sides of the barrage because I've heard stories of them swimming both sides of the barrage. Um, I've seen them swimming on the castle pond. So yeah, and then you go, okay, well, where is their halt? Or is it, up towards Holyland Woods? Because once you get through the tunnel, it does tend to open up into like a marshy kind of area, which one side of it is farmed, one side of it is kind of the backs of houses, but you don't really have access onto that side of the mill pond. I think once you get up to the very top end of Mill Pond, you get to Holyland Road, that does have a bit more access. So there's different opportunities there where the otter could be. So it'd be interesting to know, but it's not the sort of thing you want to share. It's not the sort of thing you want to go, oh, look, it's there, and have too many people come and disturb them. That's not what we want to do. But yeah, it's just fantastic that we've got that there, and we need to do more of it. So I will be doing Otter Watch from now on whenever I can. I'll be doing an Otter Watch video. Um, it'd be great to see how the little one, how Oggy grows, how he starts to develop, and then where does he go after, or she? Where does Oggy go after? I'm going to assume that mum and dad kind of this is their area, this is their patch because they've been around a lot. I say at least at least 5 6 years I've seen them on the pond. I was a little bit worried this year because I usually see them through the summer. Didn't see them at all through summer this year, and that kind of freaked me out a little. And you do tend to see them every now and again through winter. Um, Early part of spring, there's lots of little fish around, so you tend to see them then. And I saw nothing, not seen them at all. And I spent a lot of time walking around there, and 9 times out of 10, I'll see something or I'll hear something. Um, but yeah, nothing this year. So it's lovely to have them back, and we will start doing Otter Watch. If this is your thing, I see loads of great comments on the video this week. But if otters are your thing, then yeah, give us a hand. If you've got any otter videos, stick them on our page or send them to me. I'll put them together and I'll put them out as Otter Watch. So do Swan Watch. We'll do that again when we get to the start of the year, kind of February, March, I guess, is when they'll start pairing up and they go. But yeah, Otter Watch between now and then. And yeah, we talk about wildlife on the Mill Pond. I'm going to try and get the guys that are doing the water quality study on the Mill Pond. I'm going to try and have a chat with them. But things that I've seen on Mill Pond. So obviously we've got lots of herons, cormorants, obviously the swans. I've started to see barnacle geese. You will hear the barnacle geese because it's got a really, really loud rasp and it moves over the water and like echoes over the top of the water. So like it's a honk. Ah, it's one of them. So I've started seeing them on Mill Pond. I've seen kingfishers on Mill Pond. I've heard woodpeckers. I've heard woodpeckers somewhere around Mill Pond. They must be there's a load of wildlife. We know there's loads of bats around there. Um, so we'll talk about the wildlife, and then we said last week about putting the lights down there. The two they can work alongside each other. Yeah, there was a comment about let's not ruin it for the wildlife. I don't think we would ruin it for wildlife. I think we'd have to do it so that the two are matching alongside each other. But there is a load of wildlife on Mill Pond, a load of it. Um, and maybe one of the things we'll talk about in future, Holyland Woods again. I'm sure I saw somewhere that the management contract for Holyland Woods is up for renewal this year. That will be great to have as a community asset, as a genuine community asset. It takes a massive amount of people to look after that. But I'll save that for future. I'll save I say that for the future because it's something that we need to do a lot more with on that. So Otter Watch is back. The Otters are back. Olwyn and Oggy are around. If you've got any videos of them or photos, post them on the page because yeah, I love seeing them. I love seeing them on there. Be great, be fantastic. Okay, so before we move on to, wouldn't it be nice? Which again, last week, thank you for your comments on last week's. Wouldn't it be nice? But wouldn't it be before we move on to wouldn't it be nice? Um, come and join me. Come and join me. I'm trying to get Towncast, Haverfordwest, Tenby, and Fishguard set up. And then I can, after that, we'll do Milford, St. David's, Saundersfoot, Narber. There's loads of places that I want to set up Towncast for. So if you can come and help me do Pembroke or Pembroke Dock, it will help me to have time to go and do the others on that. And it'll mean that I'm not sitting there rabbiting on it myself. So yeah, message me on ilovetowncast@gmail.com if you fancy having a go at this. It's a lot of fun. It's a great laugh. Um, and yeah, lots of people now say hello to me, and I have no idea at all who they are. So I'm going to assume it's because of this. But lots of people just go, "I mate," and all of that. One guy did go. One day did call me yeah, you're the Towncast guy. You're the podcast guy, aren't you? And I go, yeah, Lee. Yeah, Lee. Yeah, yeah, you do the podcast. You're the podcast guy. You go, no, no, my name's Lee. Yeah, the podcast guy. So, yeah, you want to come and get involved, please do. It'd be great to have more people on board with that. Okay, so wouldn't it be nice? So, kind of again, following on from last week, and these all of my ideas for wouldn't it be nice are kind of melding into each other. This idea of having a central town fundraising thing. It would need to be independent of town council. It would need to be completely separate because it's about the community. It would need to be community based, and this next idea kind of pitches into that as well. Okay, so and I tried doing this a couple of years ago, and we did get it done, but not the way I wanted to have it done. So through the summer we had sunset cinemas. So sometimes you'll see that at Pembroke Castle, sometimes at the rugby club, things like that. So I would love to see somewhere in the town centre or the castle, whatever, a Christmas a Christmas outdoor film, which in some respects is more difficult to do, some respects more easy to do. So there are two issues with outdoor cinema. Well, one is the weather, obviously. Two is the level of light. So the level of light in winter works in your favor because you can put that cinema on much, much earlier in the day. That's why you have a sunset cinema in summer because you got to wait until about kind of 7, 8 o'clock so that the beam from the projector will hit the wall or whatever, and you can see it. Um, Whereas in winter, you're looking, 3, 4 o'clock. That's viable. That's a viable option, 3, 4 o'clock. So you could do loads of stuff with that. Um, and then just showing Christmassy films would bring people into the town centre. Now, your issue is obviously, it's not so much actually rain. Rain means that people don't want to sit and watch, but it won't actually affect the the screen and the projector that much because they can be covered. It's the wind. The wind can blow the screen away, rip the screen, all of this kind of things. So that's the only bit that kind of really interferes with it. But we've got quite a few locations around the town where we could project an image onto a wall. So, the side of the castle is the obvious one. We could have, we could be sat around or stood around the outside of Mill Pond with the go, that we could project onto the side of the castle with the sound coming out. There's things like that. St. Michael's, St. Michael's Church, we could use that car park. That could be viable. And then you go, there's other bits that you can add on to that with, you know, if you've ever been to a Christmas market in anywhere in Europe and Germany, Belgium, any and particularly cold countries, if you go to anywhere a little bit north, where you have your warm glühwein, you have roast chestnuts, literally in that old kind of cooking barrel and both out they come and things like that. But there's loads of stuff that you could do around and make it into an event. Um, and but then you get this bit like, I don't know why in my head. All right, let's level. Okay, I'm a massive Elf fan. Yeah, every year, my birthday's kind of start-ish of December. That's what we do on my birthday. We watch Elf, and that's why Christmas has started. So yeah, if you see me walking around town in yellow leggings with a funny hat on, I'm happy. Trust me, I'm happy. Um, but yeah, at the end of Elf, and you tend to have this moment in most Christmas films where there's an associated song that goes with it. Yeah. So there's a bit of the Elf at the end of Elf where Santa's sleigh is in the park, and it needs Christmas spirit to get it going again. And the way to spread Christmas joy, the way to spread Christmas cheer, singing loud for all to hear. There we go. The way to spread Christmas cheer is singing loud for all to hear. And so everyone joins in singing. So I've just got this vision in my head that, we're all watching out on the side of the castle. We've had a couple of glue vines, and you get to the end of it, and we just start singing. You better watch out. You better not cry. That's what memories are made of. You bring your kids to that. That's something that's absolutely stuck in there. A bit like my crying at ET. I'm sure I watched 3 or 4 other films at Haggars. I can't remember what they were, but I remember ET because it was a moment in my life that sticks out. That would, let's give our kids happy moments in Pembroke. So when they grow up and if they move away, that's something that will tie them to Pembroke. Um, it's something that we could do. So again, like I say, it ties into this whole town fundraising team thing, where we'd have lots of different projects going and stuff. Yeah, it just to me watching Elf. And there's loads of other Christmas films. Well, White Christmas. I'm dreaming of a White Christmas. I know it's in black and white and stuff. You put that up on the side of the castle, and we're all over by the corn store or whatever. That may not work now, but it could be done. We could do it. It's something that if there was enough of us that said, "Hey, I'd like to do this," that I'm sure we could get done. So yeah, if that's tickling your fancy, then do comment on our socials because I would love to get stuff like that going. Love, love, love to get stuff like that up and running. Okay, that'll be up on our socials later in the week as well. So please do like and share on that. That'll be fantastic. All right. Let's go and do a little bit of sport. We've actually got some sport to cover this week. So let's do a little bit of sport. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the rugby, obviously, first week. So you can see here Pembroke travelled up to Crummock, really, really tight game, and that game literally went 7-7, 10-10, 15-15, blah 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 blah, all the way up to 26-26. And then literally last kick of the game, penalty for Pembroke. Um, Slotted it over, end of the game. I mean, that's proper local rugby. That's competitive, and that's what you need to improve. You need competitive rugby on there. So that's fantastic for Pembroke. But there's another score on here that I want to share with you and just show you: Langham 43, Lanabother 24. Now, if you remember, we said last week that Langham was struggling to raise a team. A couple of boys out, a couple of boys injured, struggling. So to turn around and put 43 on, I know Llanybother are in a similar position to Langham, but yeah, just great to see Langham doing that. Quick look at the table. Where does that leave everyone in the table? Pembroke mid-table, but this is the column just because of the way the games are down at this end of the table. Um, yes, Ponteberem are top, but they played 5-1-5. Pembroke are mid-table, but only played three. Yeah, played 3-1-2. So there's games in hand. So it's not really going to come. We're not going to unravel that until the end of the season on that. Okay. So fixtures for this week then. Pembroke travel to Llanybother. Now, Llanybother are struggling. They're down the bottom of the table. So that's going to be an interesting one there. And then the week after, um, yeah, Pembroke against. Oh, actually, no, that's next week. Yeah, that's next week. So there must be a cup game this week then. There must be cup games yeah, I think that's what it is. This is 1st of November. 1st of November, this is. So I'll try and find the cup games and share them out if we've got them on that. Okay, let's have a look at football. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way for those of you follow me on YouTube. Oh, yeah, we're not doing audio anymore. So think I said that last time, but I'm not 100% certain. So let's have a look at the football then. So this is the Manderwood Pembrokeshire League Division 1. So Carew travelled to Clarbeston, lost 3-0 on that. I mean, if you're interested, Penna Robbins beaten Arbus 4-2 on that one as well. Games for the following week. There we go. No, was it no game for the Swifts? Oh, there we go. Sorry, I missed the Swifts there. So Moncton Swifts at home lost 3-1 to Tenby down the bottom there. I couldn't see that one. So that leaves the Swifts. That was a top of the table clash. I think last week, yeah, they were the other way around. They were second, be third. So Swifts had dropped a position in at the top of the table, but still in there. They've still got a game in hand, and they're only a point behind Tenby, but that was an important game last week to win. Carew, 3 off the bottom, 8 games played, only 1 win, 1 draw on that. So next week's fixtures then. Swifts travel to Goodwick and Carew travel to Merlin's Bridge. So Goodwick are usually top of the table. Yeah, there we go again. So it is all feeling very familiar. Aiken, Swifts, Goodwick, these are all regular teams at the top of the table. So another important game next week. They're all important games, but this is really, really key. If the Swifts are going to do anything this year, that gap with Aiken is starting to grow, and we need to close it. So yeah, next week, Goodwick. Always a tough game in Goodwick. I've got many, many memories of playing in Goodwick. Some of them good, some of them bad. Okay, let's have a look at Division 2. So I've got Carew Reserves in a belting game against New Hedges. So they lost 5-4 at home. And then Swifts Reserves, decent win away. 3-2 winners against Merlin Bridge away on that one. Quick look at the table. Yeah, Swift Reserves kind of mid-table-ish, top part of mid-table. Carew Reserves at the bottom, still propping it up. Unfortunately, fixtures for this week. So Carew Reserve host Goodwick United Reserves. It's a tough game. Tough game. Moncton Swift Reserves host Camrose. So that'll be a good game actually, because Camrose, yeah, just below the Swifts in the table. So going to be another competitive game there again, and that's the way you need it to be. You need it to be. Division Three, then. Have we got anyone in Division Three? We had the Borough in there, good win against Amrose. Loreni beat Kilgetty seconds 2-1. That's a decent one. Penna Robbins lost 3-0. So no real one in there. If you are interested, fixtures for this week coming up. Pembroke Borough host Broadhaven. Loreni travel to Penna Robbins. Um, yeah, that's the extent of our interest. The Division 4. Okay, Division 4 is we've got a bit more interest in Division 4. So Hundleton beat Manabea 2-1. That's a good one. And then yeah, St. Florence beat Solver 5-2 there. So yeah, that's a nice little one there. Where does that leave Hundleton? Yeah, Angle didn't play this week. I haven't missed that on there, have I? No, Angle didn't play. So Hundleton, yeah, starting to move up. That's a good win for Hundleton, but it does leave Manabea one off the bottom. Still struggling, but there's only the one win, one draw. But yeah, need to start pulling some points from somewhere there. So fixtures for this weekend, then 25th of October. Hundleton host Johnston Seconds, Manabea travel to Milford Athletic, and Angle travel to Neyland Reserves on that. So no game this week for St. Florence on that one. Okay, let's have a look. Division 5, then. Boom, boom, boom. Who have we got in division? So Loreni Reserves, 3-all draw against New Hedges. Borough Reserves. Yeah, I think that's it for us in there, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm sure we had somebody else in there. No, it was just Loreni Reserves on that one. So Loreni Reserves this week hosting Herbinston Reserves on there. Okay, lovely, jubbly. Like I said, if you've got any other sports results, sports stories that you want to share with us, or you want to do our sports, then please do get in touch. It'd be great. There are loads of people around that talk to me about this, and would love a career in sports journalism or journalism, or just want to do their own YouTube channel and things like that. So what I'll tell you is I've run the rugby channels for 3 years now, and I've got two former presenters working now for not national teams, for professional clubs. I've got two presenters who are one is a student he's a student who's still in university, but he's currently doing a placement with a national newspaper, and we've got one other presenter who has been asked to do commentary for a national sevens tournament. So this is an absolute gift of a way. If that's your interest, or you just like local stuff, then this is absolutely for you. It's just good fun. So yes, that is pretty much just done for this week. It had been a pleasure chatting to myself again for today. But yes, join us again next week. Like I said, we're talking about the tan yard next week on I Remember. If there's anything you want us to cover and chatty bit, please do give us a shout. In the meantime, have a fantastic week. Keep yourself safe, and let's make Pembroke proud. All the best.